digest recent events in Loudoun County Public Schools and our plans to reduce the likelihood that these will happen again. First, let me say to the families and students involved, my heart aches for you, and I am sorry that we failed to provide the safe, welcoming, and affirming environment that we aspire to provide. We acknowledge and share in your pain, and we will continue to offer you support to help your families through this trauma. For all of our students, our school-based unified mental health teams are available to anyone who needs care. It is important to know that Title IX directs how schools must investigate allegations of sexual harassment and sexual assault and provides equal protection for both victims and the alleged perpetrators. Throughout these events, the Loudoun County Public Schools has complied with our obligations under Title IX. However, we have found this process outlined under Title IX by the U.S. Department of Education to be insufficient in addressing issues at the K-12 level. We believe this process could be strengthened with some reforms. I am recommending to the Loudoun County School Board that this issue be placed on our legislative agenda and that the board and allied groups actively lobby for change to allow more protections for victims of sexual harassment and sexual assault. This morning I spoke with Virginia Secretary of Education Carney to enlist his help in this effort, as well as Chief of Staff for Elementary and Secondary Education Christian Rhodes with U.S. Secretary of Education Cardona's office to discuss the needed changes. Whether or not these changes occur in the future, our division's procedures will emphasize the safety and protection of victims. To the extent we are legally permitted to do so, we will begin disciplinary action at the time of the incident rather than suspending that action until the end of the Title IX or criminal investigation. We will exercise all options available under Title IX to separate alleged offenders from the general student body. To ensure this happens, our administration will recommend to the school board changes to policy 8030 and 8035 to place greater emphasis on the rights of victims. With that, I want to acknowledge that the processes and procedures in place were not adequate to respond to these recent events. It has become clear that our administrative procedures have not kept pace with the growth we have seen in our county. While informal protocols and school-based autonomy may work in small and medium-sized school divisions, they simply are not sufficient in a county with 82,000 students. In the 3 months since my appointment, we have taken steps to correct this shortcoming. I have directed our Chief of Staff to oversee the modification and codification of all of our practices. We have already made significant changes to athletic eligibility appeals process and have tweaked the process for special placement. To ensure adequate supervision and consistency across the school division, we have reorganized and expanded the Department of Instruction. We now have an executive director, chief of schools, and an expansion of the role of executive principals that were both put in place to provide greater supervision and oversight of schools and principals. Moving forward, it is essential that we are consistent in our practices across the county. We are taking positive steps in this direction. This lack of oversight that existed prior to my tenure also contributed to errors in our state reporting regarding disciplinary incidents in the school. The division inadvertently omitted some information in the past. That is extremely concerning, and we are taking steps to make sure that this process is improved. I will say that at this time I have no reason to believe that any missing reports were due to an intent to hide any information from the public or the Virginia Department of Education. In the future, we will report events in real time in our student information system and make corrections if needed following the due process procedures. This will help ensure greater accuracy in our Department of Education reporting. Recent events have also revealed that we have shortcomings in alternative placement options for students involved in serious discipline infractions. A correction to this issue is one of my top priorities. This week I directed the Deputy Superintendent to fast-track these changes. In the very near future, we will have alternative placements for students involved in discipline infractions that protect the safety of the student body and the rights of the accused. As a division, we value our relationship with the Loudoun County Sheriff's Department and the way in which the nationally recognized School Resource Officer program enhances safety and relationships between young people and law enforcement at the school level. We also recognize that we need to continue to build on this relationship. To that end, we plan to propose changes to the Memorandum of Understanding between the Division and the Sheriff's Office to ensure school discipline and criminal investigations can happen simultaneously, and that both organizations follow all reporting requirements of the Code of Virginia. This includes notification from the Sheriff's Office to the Superintendent and the Principal when students are charged with serious offenses. Lastly, I want to speak to my comments at the June 22nd board meeting related to bathroom. Board member Bartz asked a question about discipline incidents in bathrooms that I wrongly interpreted as incidents involving transgender and gender fluid students. I did this because I was viewing the question in light of the general questions and debate the board was participating in around policy 8040. Multiple board members had asked questions about the process, the experience of students, and plans for transgender students and bathroom use during that discussion. My mindset was in line with that subject. At another point in the conversation, Chair Sheridan asked a question specifically about incidents involving transgender students, and I responded in much the same manner. I regret that my comments were misleading, and I apologize for the distress that error caused families. I should have asked Board Member Bartz clarifying questions to get to the root of her question rather than assuming what she meant. I will do better in the future. Loudoun County Public Schools will move forward as a learning community that emphasizes safety and affirmation in an academically rigorous environment. We will offer transparency where we are able, but also ask the community to appreciate that we must maintain student confidentiality. Because of this, there will be questions that we simply cannot answer at this time. Again, student confidentiality is a principle and legal obligation to which we must adhere. This has been a very difficult time for our community. We are committed to finding ways to improve our processes to ensure that Loudoun County schools are safe for all of our students. We seek your grace and encouragement to grow our schools and create the community that we all desire. Thank you very much.
Are there any